Welcome everyone to the Savvy Sales Lady Live. I see we have viewers. Will you tell me in the comments where you're viewing from, what state or country you're from? And also, if you notice, I don't know if it's on your left or on your right, but there's a QR code that's new to the Savvy Sales Lady Live. And if you scan it with a reader, it will take you to the Mindset Reset webinar replay that is now for purchase. So you can do that too later. All right. We are talking about the thing that nobody ever wants to talk about, but it's the one thing you really need to know, and that's change. That is change. Let me pull up my notes real quick. So I know whenever you talk about change, people roll their eyes, and because it's not a feel good, motivational subject, right? But there is one critical truth that you need to know about change that separates top performers from everyone else. And why I'm talking about this, because recently I had a conversation with a sales leader who came to me to talk to me about his sales team. And he had this belief, and he said this to me: "You can't change, Christine." And I said, "Well, tell me more about that." And he said, "People just can't change." It was his belief that once someone reaches adulthood, that their belief systems are set and they're so ingrained, excuse me, it's impossible to change. Now, is that true? Is that really true? No, it's not. But stay with me, because I'll give you 3 practical tips that you can use and a way you can develop your own growth mindset. So stay with me. Okay. This is everything you need to know about change. And for those of you that just jumped on, if you would let me know in the comments where you're from, I would love to know where you're from. And also the code, the QR code, I don't know if it's on your left or right, will take you right to my Mindset Reset Replay webinar. Okay. Let's get into everything you need to know about change. So Let me ask you something and be honest. Be honest. Tell me in the comments how many of you are resisting change right now in your excuse me, in your sales career, in your life, maybe in your personal life or relationship. How many of you are resisting change right now? Maybe you're resisting a new CRM system your company rolled out and you're still clinging to your old spreadsheets. Believe it or not, I coach people who are still using spreadsheets. Maybe your social selling strategies that you know you should be using, you're not, but instead you keep defaulting to just scrolling and being a bystander, not participating in social selling. Maybe a new prospecting approach your manager keeps suggesting, but you're convinced your way is better. You see, those are all resisting change, all of it. Technology updates that you're resisting to learn about. That was me with this whole AI thing. And then once I made myself understand AI, whoa, does it open up a whole new world for you? And I love it now. So here's the dangerous myth. And what's wild is I see this all the time. Brilliant salespeople, talented closers, leaving money on the table because they're stuck in resistance mode. And you know what the kicker is? Most of the time, it's not even the actual change itself. It's about something much deeper. It's about belief, a limiting belief that's been programmed into most of us since childhood. That's how we learn beliefs, is through childhood. The belief that people can't change, that's a dangerous myth. So think about this. How many times have you heard this? People don't change. You can't teach old dog new tricks. That was what my dad always said. That's just how I am. That's just how I am. This belief is still wildly everywhere. And here's the thing. When you believe that people can't change, you're just not talking about other people. You're talking about you. You're really saying, I can't change. This is who I am. I know someone that says all the time, this is who I am. You just have to accept it. This is who I am. In reality, did you know there are all kinds of different versions of you? There's the version that shows up at work. There's the version that shows up with your friends. There's the version that shows up for your partner or your spouse. There's a version that shows up for your children. There are all kinds of different versions of you. So you're fooling yourself if you think that you're being authentic and real all the time. You're not. There's all kinds of different versions of you. And if you can change yourself into these different versions, you can change yourself in other areas too. So if people can't change, then you can't adapt new sales methodologies. You can't improve your closing rate if you can't change. You can't level up your skills. You're basically maxed out where you are. Can you see how dangerous this is? This belief creates a ceiling under your potential. It keeps you small. It tells you that transformation isn't possible, that growth has limits, that you're stuck with these skills and habits you have right now. You can't improve upon them. It's called a fixed mindset. And for a sales professional, that's a death sentence in today's market. Because let me tell you what's not debatable. Your market is changing. Your buyers are changing. Your competition is changing. Technology is changing almost hourly now. So if you believe you can't change, you're going to be left behind, period. All right, so let's dive into a little bit. Where does this belief come from? Where does it come from? Well, it comes from observing people who choose not to change, not people who couldn't change. I know someone to this day, I've known him for, oh my gosh, 50 years, 55 years. And when he was in his 20s, he said he already formed all of his beliefs. Now, all these years later, guess what? He still has the same beliefs. He never changed one bit because he thought he confused beliefs with principles. Two different things. Your principles can change too. So think about all of this. You've seen people make the same mistakes over and over. I bet you've even watched colleagues resist every new initiative. You've heard stories about that person who never changed. In my day, we called it the dead wood. We have a lot of dead wood in our company. These are the people who could only see things one way. This is the way we've always done it. We've never done it any other way. And they could never embrace any kind of change at all. But here's what you didn't see: the internal choice they were making, the resistance they were feeding, the identity they were protecting. And that's a big one. You saw the outcome and assumed it was inability, but it was actually unwillingness. I worked with people like this for decades, unwilling to do the work in a more efficient way. I've seen it over and over again in my 40 years of corporate life. As I said, we called those people the dead wood. There's also something else at play too that you need to recognize. And that is this belief, it's convenient, right? This is the way I'm always am. This is the way we've always done it. It's convenient. It lets us off the hook. But does it really? Because if people can't change, then you don't have to feel guilty about not adapting. You don't have to put in the hard work of learning something new. You don't have to face the discomfort of growth. You have a built-in excuse for staying what? Comfortable. It's protective. It's safe. But it's completely false. Completely false. So here's what we know from neuroscience, psychology, and just plain observation. People absolutely can change, and they do all the time. Your brain has something called neuroplasticity. That's a fancy word that means your brain can literally rewire itself throughout your entire life. And matter of fact, your brain has rewired itself and you don't even know it's happening. You can build new neural pathways. You can. You can create new habits. You can develop new skills. And when you do those things, you create new neural pathways. Let me give you an example. Have you ever worked with someone, or has this happened to you, where you get sucked into all of the social media negativity? I don't know what you're passionate about. Maybe it's politics. Maybe it's something else. So you get into this feeding frenzy of all this negativity online, and then you start participating in the negativity. And you do this day after day after day after week after month. And then you wake up and wonder why you're so depressed. All of that negativity has now rewired your brain, without you even realizing it, to always look for the negative. Has that ever happened to you? Let me know in the comments. I know people and have worked with people and have coached people that this absolutely has happened to. You can reverse the damage, but it is damage. I'm just going to tell you, it's damage. But you can reverse it to get yourself out of that negativity loop and to a positive loop. And I talk about that in the Mindset Reset webinar, that you can now get the replay by scanning the QR code. So think about your own life for a second, okay? You learned to walk when you couldn't before, correct? You learned to read when you were illiterate as a child. You learned to drive when you had no clue how to drive. Or how about mastering that stick shift and the clutch when you first learned to drive? You learned to sell when you never had done it before, ever. Remember that first year in selling? If you can learn any of those things, you can learn new sales strategies. You can adapt to new technologies. You can change your approach. So let's talk about proof, because it's everywhere. Former addicts, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's eating disorders, who get sober and stay sober. People who overcome severe trauma and build beautiful lives. Career changers who master entirely new fields. Salespeople who go from struggling to thriving by adopting new methods. Every single transformation story is evidence that change is possible. The question isn't, can you change? The question is, will you change? Now, we're going to dive deeper right after this, so stay with me through this quick 30-second break. If you like the Savvy Sales Lady Live, you're really going to like the Savvy Sales Lady newsletter. It's delivered in your inbox once a week. Why don't you go ahead and subscribe? The link is in the show notes below, so you won't miss this upcoming newsletter. I give you one tip to focus on each week to implement immediately into your sales day. Why not sign up and learn just a little bit more? All right, we're back. Thank you for staying with me. And that gives me an opportunity to take a little bit of drink of water. So that's why I put a break in the middle. So let's get real about resistance to change and how it's costing you. Okay, opportunities. While you're resisting that new prospecting strategy or the new CRM, your competitor is using it to book meetings with your prospects. Commissions. How about that? that new sales methodology, you're skeptical about it. Someone else is using it to close deals faster and at higher values. Relevance? Every day you resist adapting to how buyers want to buy, you become a little more obsolete. The goal is to stay relevant with your buyers. Growth. Your income has a ceiling when your mindset has a ceiling. If you believe you can't change, you won't. And you don't change, you won't grow. And here's the brutal truth. The market doesn't care about your comfort zone. Your quota doesn't care about your resistance. Your mortgage doesn't care that you prefer the old way. Results don't come from what's comfortable. They come from what's effective. And what's effective keeps evolving. It's not static, everyone. It continues to change. So how do we fix this? How do we move from resistance to growth? All right. It starts with adopting what psychologist Dr. Carol DeWitt calls a growth mindset. Instead of I can't change, you start saying, I can't do this yet. I couldn't ride a bike when I first got a bike. But now I can, as an adult, I can ride it all day long. So I can't do it yet, but I will do it. I will accomplish this. Instead of saying, this is just how I am, you say, this is how I am right now, but I'm working towards changing. Instead of, I'm not good at social selling, you say, I'm still developing my social selling skills. I'm learning every day. See the difference? One is toxic, and the other one is real optimism. Now, I'm not talking about fake positive affirmations. They don't work. And I go into that in the Mindset Reset webinar. I'm talking about acknowledging where you are while believing in where you can go. You have no idea how far you can go because you haven't allowed yourself to believe it. When your company rolls out a new tool, instead of another thing to learn, try saying, what advantage could this give me if I master it first? When someone suggests a new approach, instead of, well, my way works just fine, try, what could I learn from testing this? When you face a new market challenge, instead of saying, I don't know how to handle this, try, how can I develop the skills to handle this? Like AI, the mindset shift is your competitive advantage because while everyone else is spinning and resisting and complaining, you're adapting and winning. All right, here are the practical steps that we're going to go over. I told you at the beginning, I've got 3 practical steps for you. So this is how you do it to embrace change starting right now. Number 1, identify one change you've been resisting. Write it down or tell me in the comments if you'd like to share. Be honest. What's the thing you've been avoiding or pushing back on? Write it down. Name it, because you can't address what you won't acknowledge. Okay? Number 2, question your resistance. Ask yourself, is this resistance based on evidence or is it based on comfort? Okay? Most resistance isn't logical, it's emotional. Once you see that, it loses its power. You're in sales, you're supposed to be uncomfortable all through the day. And then number 3, take one small action towards that change. So when you talk about change, people often think that they have to have this massive transformation immediately. That's not how change works. It's gradual. It's one small action each day. We have a comment. Have you read The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins? Yeah, I've got an interesting story about that. Thanks for watching. I have something I call the 5-second rule. And I had posted this on Instagram, my 5-second rule, just completely not thinking about Mel Robbins' 5-second rule book. And she actually liked my post because my 5-second rule is this. Whenever you're talking to a prospect or you're having a conversation with anyone, and they pause, that pregnant pause where it can feel a little uncomfortable. Here's my 5-second rule. Count in your head 5 seconds, 1 second, 2 second in your head. And once it gets to 5 seconds and the other person hasn't started talking again, then ask a question or make a comment about what they just said. But 9 times out of 10, people pause because they're collecting their thoughts. And usually by 3 or 4 seconds, they'll begin to talk again. Where if you jump in right away because you feel uncomfortable with the silence, what you're doing is you're interrupting their thought process. I learned this from a friend of mine that is a psychologist, and she taught me this tool to wait 5 seconds before you speak if the other one pauses. And sometimes you'll notice that people will pause mid-sentence and your instinct is to fill in the blank. So you'll kind of want to finish their sentence. Don't do that. Give them the time to collect their thoughts, give them 5 seconds. And instead of filling in the blank, if they haven't started talking, then instead ask them a question about what they said or make a comment about what they said. Thank you for that question. I appreciate it. Okay, so you can't transform overnight. You just can't do it. And one of the things that I love about James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits, is that he talks about small 1% improvements every day. Back in my day, Zig Ziglar used to call it, if you know Zig Ziglar, he called it eating the elephant one bite at a time. So you don't try to transform overnight. You just take one step. So if it's learning a new feature on a CRM, spend 15 minutes learning that one feature. Just put it in your calendar that you're going to do this. If it's social selling, post one piece of content. All right. You might want to post once a week, then twice a week, then 3 times a week. And then you'll get up to posting once a day. Now, I post twice a day on LinkedIn, on X, and on Facebook. I had to think there for a minute. I post videos. I do live streams twice a week on YouTube, LinkedIn, and X at 4 p.m. usually. Today I had to push it back because of a meeting to 5. And they're just free trainings. And then I add a video once a week and then shorts during that week on my YouTube channel. But that's what I do. Um, but you can work up to those things. Like I worked up to them. I didn't do all of this out of the gate. I worked up to it. And now I've got myself into such a sync, and I've got the routine, the habit, and the structure in place where it's no big deal for me to do these now. So small actions create momentum. That's what you want to keep in mind. Maybe you're learning a new script and practice it. You all that have followed me for any length of time, you know I say practice, 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 mental rehearsal, and speak the words out loud, okay? Because your mind, your brain has to hear the words in order to believe it. So speak the words out loud, even when you're practicing. So momentum creates confidence. So let me go back. Small actions create momentum. Momentum creates confidence, and confidence creates transformation. So here's what I want you to walk away with today. Okay. You're not fixed into beliefs. You don't have to be. You're not stuck. You're not maxed out. Your past performance is not your ceiling. It's your foundation. Okay. Every skill you have now, you've developed. Every strength you possess, you built. And everything you want to become, you can become. The only thing standing let me say that again. The only thing standing between who you are and who you want to be is your belief about whether change is possible. And you know the truth. It is. Change isn't just possible, it's your path to every level of success you haven't reached yet. Because the market will keep changing. And the question is, will you? Will you change with it? Or will you resist it? Because I promise you, your future success is on the other side of your current resistance. So, if you're ready to make a real change, here's what you can do. There's a link in the description area below this video on YouTube that gives you access to my Mindset Reset webinar, or you can scan the code, the QR code on the screen, and it'll take you right to my website where you can purchase this for only $57. It will give you my go-to tools I used a decade ago to change my mindset. So here's my question for you. What's one change you've been resisting in your sales approach? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it. You might find you're not alone, and that community support might be exactly what you need to finally make that shift. I have had coaching clients who did not believe that they could achieve the level of success that they've achieved. When we finally broke through those limited beliefs, they took off. So if you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode, which will be Thursday, hopefully at 4 p.m. Now, we're dropping sales mindset strategies and sales strategies every week to help you level up. So until the next time, I hope you remember that sales success is just a mindset change. That's all it is. And I'm here to help you. Oh, we got another comment. Sorry. This sounds very much like fitness. If you want to improve yourself on a particular exercise, you make small incremental gains each session. Over time, you see the improvements and results. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And the beauty of my Mindset Reset webinar is you can apply these principles into any area of your life, any area of your life. And here's another interesting point. I'm glad you brought this up. Most of the people that come to me think that they have a sales issue or problem. They only knew the right words or the magic words or the new strategies or whatever. 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with their skills, but everything to do here in their mindset. And I teach a lot about mindset because that's the first step in every area of your life. It really is. So I really appreciate you, YT Retro Apocalypse YouTube. Did I get that right? I appreciate your comments and for being on. I really do. And hopefully in the future, we'll get more robust comments on the Savvy Sales Lady Live, because that's how we learn. We help each other, right? That's how we learn. We help each other. So thank you for watching. And until the next time, stay savvy.